Hello, everyone. This is Mark Anthony with AI Edge Promotions and Podcast here. We bring you the best of the best doctors in their niche. And today I have not just a doctor here, but a friend, Dr. Scott Vrzal. You can find Dr. Scott at drvrzal.com, drvrzal.com. He's an author. He's also a speaker. And so if you're looking for someone to talk on headaches or to talk on how to get rid of them, this is the doctor that you want to connect with. He's shaking it up in California. He's up in San Jose, enjoying the waves and the weather. So today we're going to be talking about a subject. It's called headaches. How many of you guys get headaches? I bet you it's up there, 95%. But today we're going to talk about not just headaches, but the title is Pain is Your Friend. You're probably wondering, what do you mean pain? I have a headache right now. How is that my friend? So we introduce you, Dr. Scott. Thank you so much for being here on the show.
Absolutely. And just clarification, I'm in Laguna Niguel, Southern California.
Oh, I don't know why I said
Um,
San Jose, man.
yeah, I was there as a kid.
Oh boy. Okay.
All
Awesome.
good. So sunny Southern California, right up the road from you, currently. Yeah. Yeah, pain is your friend. Pain is intended to elicit change. Well, that'll be our recurring theme, I'm sure, as we chat this morning. That pain is a strong motivator, isn't it? When we work out to get pain and to grow from that
Yeah.
ultimately, but cortisol, stress, pain that is intended to elicit change, and so we can grow from it. You open any page in the Bible and see the same story over and over, right?
Right.
This is how this is how God worked through us and beat us down until we got the lesson. So,
100%. So tell us a
mm.
little bit about yourself before we get into Pain is Your Friend and like how you got into what you're doing and how you became so passionate about it.
Yeah, pain was affecting my life, right? I had headaches. I was a young kid working out to have the pecs and the buys to impress the girls, and turned out every time I did bench press, I'd get a pounding headache. I tried all the over the counters, aspirin, Advil, Tylenol, all the typical stuff to suppress the pain, to no avail, and finally said, forget it, I'm just going to push through it. And the harder I try to push through it, the longer they'd last. They didn't, last 2, 3 days, after just bench pressing one time. Tried all the
Wow.
mechanical stuff, towel under my neck and so on. Finally, yeah, we better get this checked out. Went through the medical model. They said, well, you don't have an aneurysm. Did the CAT scans with dye and all the typical stuff to make sure that there was no crazy mass or aneurysm in my head. They were thinking aneurysm because it was with exertion, justifiably. Uh, but then the outcome of all of that was, well, there's no aneurysm. Go see a psychiatrist. I'm 19 years old, health fanatic kid, not eating sugar and anything else at the time.
Wow.
And they tell me I'm crazy because they didn't see anything in my brain, anything wrong with my mechan physically. So that kind of started the whole pursuit, and I realized as I got into healthcare and, got my first chiropractic adjustment, realized that, man, I feel great. I want this for everybody else. Better I understand the body, the better I can feel, function and perform.
Oh, wow. So here's a question that I get from a lot of people. A lot of people say, what's the difference between a normal tension headache and a migraine? And how can someone tell which one they're experiencing?
Yeah, so my book is called The Headache Advantage, because the advantage of head pain is that every head pain tells the priority ultimately for the body. So I kind of dispel that myth right in the front of the book, that it's about location. It's all about location. So there's 7 patterns of head pain and that location tells whether it's a gallbladder problem, a stomach problem, a thyroid problem, colon problem, pituitary, estrogen metabolism, or the typical stress pattern. So we can get into those, but yeah, the location is everything. And typically what people call a migraine just means that it's gnarly enough to compromise their function and their ability to, work and do
Mhm.
life. So, maybe it has a pounding component to it, then they call it a migraine. But ultimately, is it a migraine on the left? Is it a migraine on the right? Where's the pattern? That tells the story, and gives me, as a clinician, I know where to pounce, if you will, where I'm going. They can have a list of 15 different symptoms, But if they have a right-sided headache, I know beyond a shadow of doubt that gallbladder ultimately is their primary weakness. We make changes in the gallbladder, and most of the other problems are going to go away. Physical aches and pains, as well as, I mean, even tumors. I've seen tumors in the brain shrink by doing this protocol, treating gallbladder of all things. So,
Wow. So this whole
right,
protocol is in your book, correct?
right. Yes.
And wow, that's amazing. So your journey began when you said, you know what, I'm struggling with it. I need to fix it. And then when you started, did you fix yourself first? And then that's how you got passionate about what you're doing?
Basically, yes. I mean, the patterns weren't laid out at that point. As I said, got an adjustment. Ultimately, they adjusted C2, is, as I now understand, is related to the colon. I had whole head headaches, which is like a headband. Those are the hardest to identify for people because it is the whole head. When I say, where does it hurt? Everything
Wow.
hurts. That's, think constipation, sorry, folks, but you're not eliminating properly. So, I mean, and I guess I could talk about it because I was there too, right?
Mhm.
Thought everything was great, but elimination wasn't where it needed to be. And so I was getting these whole head, ultimately pounding headaches that everybody else would have called a migraine. And, justifiably, they were looking at vascular problems. So yeah, I got adjusted at C2. I felt like the whole world came off my shoulders. I was like, wow, life is great. Kind of, we were talking offline about, changing lives, and, you never know what that is going to be. In fact, I'm speaking at the college where I got my first chiropractic adjustment,
Nice.
middle of the year, and can't wait to go, motivate them and talk about, my life-changing experience there. So ultimately from that, I found protocols in this applied kinesiology approach that looks at structure and nutrition and acupuncture meridians, and kind of puts everything together. I was able to use protocols within that to identify all the ultimately the 7 patterns.
Awesome. You mentioned the word I can't even say it.
Yeah, kinesiology.
Kinesiology.
Yeah.
Yeah. For our viewers out there, what is that in from Hebrew to Greek?
Right.
Explained in English.
There you go. So kinesiology, and from a collegiate perspective, is the study of movement. And this applied kinesiology was Dr. Goodhart taking that study of movement and looking at what the underlying factors were. So what he did was realize that muscles ultimately have organ associations with them. And so it started with the delivery guy would come into his office, and he treated him for low back pain. And so Dr. Goodhart was a bit of a clown. He, reception full of patients. He'd say, "Oh, John, how's your back now?" "Oh, yeah, my back's great, but still have this winged scapula, doc." And Goodhart didn't take too well, being made a mockery in his own office. So he realized that the serratus anterior, the muscle that caused that winged scapula, the lung acupuncture meridian goes right through the belly of that muscle. So he realized that goading on that muscle, ultimately, giving nutrition for the lung, strengthened that muscle, made that wing scapula go away. And so lo and behold, all these muscle organ correlations, for the most part, it's where acupuncture meridians go through the muscle. So that just kind of, blew the whole world up as far as how we can look at, if the shoulder's not moving right, we look at what muscle's not firing properly. Then we
Right.
know, hey, that's a thymus problem. That's a brain issue. That's a lung issue. Heart issue. We can go to the associated organ, correct that. Then the muscle fires properly. Those physical aches and pains, neuropathy, if you will, whatever, structural aches, headaches, will literally go away there on the table. So applied kinesiology is merging nutrition, emotion, structure, putting it all together for a well-orbed success.
Mhm. Wow, that's amazing. So, what would you say right now that you're seeing in your office? What are the most common causes of headaches that you see patients today normally?
So the most common headache is a right-sided headache. That
Okay.
is a gallbladder problem. Part of that is unfortunately because of the glyphosate, the toxin in Roundup pesticide that is used on a lot of our wheat, corn, soy, and oats. They use that to kill the crop so that it all dies at the same time for harvesting. And so it's right on as they harvest. And so unfortunately it's very high in the US. It's much lower in European Union countries. They stopped using, or they limited its use back in the late 90s when became public about the adverse effects of it. That glyphosate mucks up bile production. So then the gallbladder meridian is the right-sided meridian that kind of dances around the right side of the head. And so that sets up those right-sided headaches. Tomatoes is another food trigger that affects acetylcholine, the brain's control of that gallbladder meridian. And so tomatoes potentially trans fats, glyphosate, pesticide are the typical triggers. It's usually one or more of those triggers that sets up that right-sided headache. So we can get those out. We can get a person maybe eating beets or beet leaf juice, if you will. Those thin the bile and allow the bile to flow properly. That can be an immediate relief of the head pain when they get there. Other physical symptoms that go along with that right side headache, heartburn, GERD, reflux, hiatal hernia. Those are all typically gallbladder problems that sets up the hiatal hernia as well. Right-sided knee pain. Those are all other physical symptoms that could go along with this same mechanism that sets up that right-sided headache.
Oh, wow. So what I'm hearing you say, uh, that a lot of this has to do with what they're putting inside their body.
Always. Yeah. I mean, thinking, is it the stinking thinking that got us there? Emotions with the gallbladder, liver and gallbladder is anger, frustration, resentment. Think of the alcoholic type emotions, for the liver. But often, it's eating the tomatoes, it's eating the trans fats that makes a person weaker, more susceptible to those emotions adversely affecting them. That's how we kind of put everything together, if you will. But yeah, for the most part, we want to start with diet. We want to get the good, healthy foods going on so that we can function at our best ultimately.
Don't you think that's kind of hard to do though? Because it seems like, correct me if I'm wrong, but everything in the store is just it's been chemically modified.
Hmm. Hmm.
Are you saying that if that's the case, it's better just to switch stores and go to something where you're going to spend a little bit more money because your body's worth it? Or what are your thoughts on that?
So my tagline for that is organic is cheaper than chemo.
Oh gosh, that is so good. That
Right? I
is.
mean,
It makes your mind
ultimately,
change instead of like, oh, it's too expensive.
right?
Actually, it's funny. It's really not too expensive because you're going to
Yeah.
go out to eat and get a burger for $17.
Hmm. Hmm. Right. And feel it ultimately, right? So pay attention to how you feel. Every single meal tells a story, and that's how I got into this. I realized back in the day when I was 13, I'd eat donuts and go try to play racquetball, and I'd play really hard for 10 minutes and then I could care less. I realized, man, donuts aren't performance food. So I quit eating sugar, I swore it off 14 years old, haven't eaten, ultimately refined sugar since. So pay attention to how you feel each and every meal. That will tell a story. And then soon things will rise to the surface. You get that energy low. You feel like you crave carbs or sugar. Something you just ate caused an insulin dump. And so that food didn't work for you. And so that's part of what helped me understand that the blood type diet, there's some huge value in the way that lectins, which is what the blood type diet's all about. Those lectins affect either blood sugar or immune function. So eating those wrong foods caused me to fall asleep in church, or fall asleep in drool literally, or if I ate tomato at night, I'd be kind of waking up 2, 3 times at night. So I realized, hey, okay, tomato doesn't work for me, and I
Right.
ultimately tested it out. It caused an insulin dump, mucks up the gallbladder, so I don't eat it. So again, learn from every single meal, just like when stressors, triggers happen in our lives, they're intended to elicit change so that we can grow from it.
Wow. So what would you say are some of the, how can I say, like, are there any warning signs in a headache that someone should never ignore and maybe should get checked immediately?
Every I mean, in the book, I talk about tumors and temporal arteritis, which was an autoimmune attack, supposed to be an autoimmune attack against the arteries in the head there. That went away. So another patient had a mesh screen in the side of her head. All that pain went away by correcting left sided headache is a stomach problem. Both of those had corrected the stomach, and all those problems went away.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, really, more often, yes. I mean, there's a concern. Oh, is it a vascular problem? Like I heard when I was a kid, you certainly don't want to blow an aneurysm or anything crazy like that. but more often than not, it's the body trying to, it's God, your body trying to get your attention to elicit a change and say, hey, what you're doing, what you're eating is not working for you. There could be grave consequences if you don't listen to it. So that's my platform, if you will, is learn, recognize the early signs before you're, debilitated.
Wow. So when you were getting headaches, were you getting them like 2 or 3 times a month, or was this becoming like a regular thing?
Yeah, it was pretty much weekly at the time. Again, I was doing weight training a couple hours a day, and it was on my bench day typically that I would get these headaches. And then if I pushed through it, then it just going up the stairs would be enough to bring it back on. So it got more and more gnarly as life went on. I quit working out for 2 weeks because I thought I had an aneurysm, and sure they
Wow.
got a little bit better for those 2 weeks, but then they came back and praise God, I found a chiropractor in the gym at the time and started my journey to making better choices. Mhm.
So it took a chiropractor to make another chiropractor.
Isn't that the way it works, right?
Hey, it was like a fisherman for chiropractic. I love it. So,
There you
and
go.
how long have you been doing chiropractic right now in
Ooh.
your area?
What are we, 2026, 33 years.
Okay, you've been doing it for a hot minute.
Right, right. So I was 2 years old, can't you tell?
I love it. Yeah, I know. The water's keeping you young, brother. What would you say? Like many people, so like many people are taking over the counter, pain medication.
Hmm.
Would
Hmm.
you, for of course, for headaches, for frequent use, could that over time taking that pain medication give you more headaches than just
Sure.
suppressing it?
Yeah. So concern there is the aspirin advil to the NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, inhibit the body's ability to heal. Ultimately, they compromise a liver pathway called sulfation, which is a primary pathway for breaking down cortisol, the stress hormone. People are familiar with chondroitin sulfate, glucosamine sulfate to rebuild, knees and so on when they get
Mhm.
uh, injured. That is that sulfation pathway where we regenerate those healthy tissues. If that gets broken down or gets compromised, then that breaks down our ability to break down the stress hormone. That's going to set up the typical frontal headache, if you will. So, I mean, there's viruses, uh, parasites, viruses, and bacteria that can also compromise that pathway. That's typically the Lyme classification of bugs that inhibit that pathway as well. And so then they get stuck in that chronic stress cycle. With that is the high serotonin. That's the obsessiveness that goes along. That's an ugly kind of pattern, if you will. That's the it can't work, give me a dark room type of a
Right.
headache. I mean, the sad part is, if a person has knee pain and they're taking anti-inflammatories for it, they also compromise the small intestine. And so then that knee doesn't track properly. So they're basically perpetuating the knee problem, trying to take an anti-inflammatory to block the pain. And so it just sets up that vicious cycle, unfortunately. Mhm.
Yeah, that's not good. Would you say that a lot of people, from what I hear, of course,
Mhm.
oh, hey, if
Mhm.
you have a headache, you just need to drink more water.
Right. Water's helpful. Sure. I mean, blood is 70% water, right? It needs to be
Mhm.
viscous and thin and flow so our blood pressure doesn't go up. Water helps, we want to get minerals with that as well.
Uh-huh.
But yes, water helps also for back pain. Kidney muscles are part of the back. So are colon related muscles. Those are a couple of the key back stabilizers. So yes, dehydration or, getting hydrated can help with some of those conditions as well.
Okay, yeah, because I always hear that, and I'm like, okay, well, that's like half the. That's like, something that's gonna help for a little while if you don't get to the main source. What is there? I don't like to say this, but I'll say it. Like, is it normal just to get maybe headaches 2 or 3 times a year? Is that like something that's normal, or is that? I mean, how would that look? Is what is normal?
Right. So common, yes, it's unreasonably common that people
Mhm.
get headaches. Uh, I have not had a headache in decades and decades. I have, probably
And you've
since,
mastered it.
yeah. And again, that's part of why I'm so confident with the book is, I mean, a headache does not leave my office. So, I mean, that just gives me that utmost confidence that it is the gallbladder, it is the stomach, what are these triggers that we're talking about? I can I can do modalities in the office that literally has that headache go away on the table right there. So that gives me that 100% confidence, like, yep, this is the holy grail for your left side headaches. Right.
Wow, that's
If
amazing.
And then we can, moving forward, if it comes back or they get another headache, then they realize, oops, I ate tomatoes, or we can figure out what that trigger is, or they did something that compromised the way their stomach functions. Now they have a left-sided headache again. So it gives a great learning tool. So realistically, pain at all, whether it's in the head, whether it's in the elbow, is an indicator that there's something off in your lifestyle.
So what I'm hearing from you, what you're putting into your engine, your body,
Hmm.
is 100%, probably 99.9% of why you're getting headaches. And the reason why I say 99.9%, because I'm not a doctor, but
Hmm.
I know that a lot of people also get headaches with their posture, their phones, sitting at a computer all day, which can contribute
Hmm.
to headaches, correct?
um, what set up the weakness in the first place, right? So, I mean, you're talking about sitting at a computer. Ultimately, what you're saying is that slouchy posture, that is bad fat metabolism. So that causes those muscles that should keep us upright, shoulders back, like mom always said. That's those shoulders slouch when we eat trans fats, the, hydrogenated oils and things, don't metabolize those good fats. I mean, podcast I was just on the hour before this, a lot of what we were talking about was this other doctor friend of mine, 99.9% of the patients he tests, which is every single patient that walks in the door, thousands, are omega-3 deficient. And so, if we're not getting enough of
Wow.
those good fats in the diet, not eating the sardines, not getting, avocado
Fish.
potentially, fish, that sort of stuff, then the shoulders start to slouch and we don't look so confident. We're eating the good fats, then I did a paper back in the 90s that talked about keeping those muscles that ultimately it's the lower trapezius muscles that help keep the shoulders back when they're firing properly. So those tend to get weak when there's bad fats, when we're not digesting those fats. Again, gallbladder is a big part of that. We need that bile to digest those fats. So that's what sets up that Dowager's hump, that, grandma looking slouchy posture, or, shoulders start to slump when they're sitting at their desk. So
Wow.
yeah, everything has a nutritional cause. Yes, sorry, chiropractors, a lot of chiropractors will blame the structural entity, but I encourage you, I implore you to look deeper, look at the underlying nutritional triggers in there as well. Mhm.
So does somebody have to literally go into your office to get help, or can they do like a Zoom call with you where they do I don't know, do you do anything
Yeah,
like that?
I do remote visits as well, again, because a lot of it's nutrition, and I figured out ways to clear emotional triggers and things like that remotely as well. Kind of eclectic. I had to kind of come out of the closet. I used to just do it for, friends and family that were out of the area. Had to kind of come out of the closet with COVID because some of the docs I train were in Kentucky area that got shut down for chiropractic. So I had to help them figure out how to help people without touching. So yes, it's possible. I did write the book as a DIY, to help people solve their headaches. So, the book is a great resource as well because there's only one of me. Yes, there's other people that do applied kinesiology. I have other docs in the office as well. It's a big world out there. Everybody needs help.
No, 100%. So, well, I like that. So this COVID probably helped inspired you to get this book up and going. I'm sure COVID had a little piece of it, or
Yeah, I mean, it was already in the making at that point. Again, COVID just strengthened my resolve though because of the fallacy that was.
yeah, that's another podcast.
I
Yeah,
know.
we
I'm
won't
like, do
go
I
we
even want
won't
to
go
open
into
it?
yeah, everybody's got a brain on that one. We know what happened. But
Indeed.
on that, so right now, if people wanted to call you and they wanted to maybe do a Zoom call because they don't live in the California area, they live in Michigan or Missouri,
Hmm.
whatever,
Right.
they can just call your office, or do they just go to your website,
Right. So yeah, the
drvrzal.com?
office number, thank you for creating that opportunity. The office number is 949-582-9090, 949-582-9090. But yes, I tend to be about a couple months booked out. We have a couple other docs in the office that also will do this as well. Um, so yeah, thanks for that plug. but ultimately I'm here trying to empower people to find solutions, do your research, do your work. I'd love to help you if that's the case. Yes, I do that for people all over the country.
No, that's awesome. And if people wanted to get your book, do they just go to your website, or do you have a .com for that, or how does that work?
It's on Amazon. Yes, headacheadvantage.com is the page, but it'll ultimately lead you to Amazon to pick up the book. The Headache Advantage on Amazon is there as it's soft cover, hardcover, digital, and Audible. So did the
Oh, I love
Audible
it.
book as
Audible.
well.
That's
Yeah.
a beautiful thing.
Hmm.
I'm gonna have to get your book, so I'll be one of your guys there because I love buying books from my doctors, especially when they know what they're talking about. So
Thank you. I
that's
mean, my
awesome.
favorite. I'm an exercise junkie. I listen to books while I'm riding my bike. That way I can multitask, right? And exercise raises dopamine levels. That's one of the and it raises dopamine and BDNF, this brain-derived neurotrophic factor, key components in learning and storing the information. So I'm learning that, feeding my brain with that information while I'm raising these neurotransmitters to heal, feed the brain. So yeah, I mean, I can get a couple books in, a week, with the amount of exercise I do and so on. It's a great way to go.
That's awesome. That's what I do when I sleep. I actually put the Bible on just real low
Nice. There
because
you
I know
go.
that our bodies we kind of go into like a we're we never we're sleeping, but we're our I think our conscience is still up.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
so I'm like, it's a good way to learn for me at least. I probably listen to like the Book of Genesis and I'm like out.
Right.
I'm like I'm still stuck in the beginning. I'm just joking. But so right now, I know that you're going to be doing some seminars. Maybe talk to us a little bit about the seminars that you're doing and where you've maybe spoken at and where you're going to be speaking at in the future.
hmm Yeah, most of those are at this point they're for doctors and that we do. Starting April, I will be doing a patient-facing series for the seven headache patterns through the Gaeta Institute, GAETA. Michael Gaeta, Dr. Michael Gaeta has a great teaching platform. We're going to do a patient-facing headache series there.
Wow.
I'm teaching in at Life West Chiropractic College in August. All around Southern California. Actually I'm in Redondo in next month. In a week, I'm here in Newport Beach. I'll be in Dallas teaching doctors predominantly on the 24th of April. So yeah, trying to get the message out there.
So the one in Redondo that caught my eye because I'm I'm in
Yeah.
the kind of in the area. So is that going to be with a bunch of doctors that will be there and you'll be
Well,
talking about
yeah.
what you do?
Ultimately, it's a dinner with the doc kind of presentation. That's my first time in that area. So yes, we will be talking about headaches there, talking about more generalized digestion here in Newport Beach in a week or two, a week, I think. So yeah, trying to get the message out all over the podcast circuit. I have my own podcast, Truth or Trend, Truth or Trend, the holistic breakdown. So every week we're banging out different stuff. Today's the one that will release next week is on healing the brain, preventing dementia and Alzheimer's, helping us learn better. Partly because that was fresh. We just attended a whole seminar on being fabulous when we're in our later years, as you're helping your parents with right now, right?
Mm.
So that starts now, making the good choices now. Um, yeah. So anyway, that Truth or Trend podcast is another way to keep the conversation going. Every week we're releasing stuff on trendy supplements that people are talking about and whether they have any value or don't. So
Wow, I love that. So so if you could give one piece of advice to people that have given up. They're like, you know
mhm,
what, this headache stuff. I've gone to all these doctors and no one's helped me. I've gone to the
mhm,
big box doctor and they give me this pill to have this pill to have this pill, and it's just getting worse. It works for a
mhm,
while. What would you
mhm,
say to them
mhm.
that have given up? And yeah, what would you say to them? Because our heart is to help people get out of pain. I know mine is too. I struggled with migraines and I would get them to the point where I couldn't sleep. I actually knew when I was going to get my migraine headache where I was out of work for 2 to 3 days straight.
Wow.
And it
Mhm,
was at the end of the month. And the crazy
mhm,
thing is, I met a doctor just like you. And so I know what you're telling guys. What he's saying is the truth. If you want to get out of pain, call Dr. Vrzal. You're going to not, you will thank me. Oh, I will say that, my friend. So, what would you say to these people that are just saying, you know what, I've given up, I'm done? Uh, all the doctors are the same.
Right, right. So for the doctors listening, be humble enough to know that there's the answer is out there. You may not have the answer. Keep learning, keep looking. Uh, and for the patients, for the health pursuer, I sympathize. I get it. It's frustrating out there that, people, think that you're crazy because they don't have the answer. Keep the hope up. All things are possible. He who strengthens us, right? And keep looking for that answer, because it is out there. Pain is the body trying to tell you, it's trying to get your attention about a defect in the lifestyle. Most healthcare, so-called healthcare protocols, don't look at the lifestyle glitch, if you will, the triggers. They're looking to try to give you a pill to mask it, and so that's not gonna that's gonna compromise the lesson that God's trying to give you through your pain.
I love it, and I love your faith. I love how you bring God into everything, and I love this. I just love your stance. And my friends out there, I just want to let you guys know, share this video, because this isn't about just two guys coming together and just talking. This is about
Mhm.
helping people. One
Mhm.
video can change one person's life.
Mhm.
And, it's talking to the right people. And I know that there was some meat in this podcast today that you can take with what Dr. Verzal spoke about and run with it. But if you want to get to the point where you're not having any more headaches, give them a phone call. And if you're in the California area, it's worth the drive.
Mhm.
Come on, we got the best scenery. We've got the beach. It's beautiful. Grab a Jamba Juice,
There you
maybe not a Jamba
go.
Juice because there's so much sugar in it. But I don't even grab. I used to grab Jamba Juice. I'm not going to lie. I used to do the
Mhm.
Cold Buster, but that was back in the '90s when they had a different name for it. But you know
Ah.
what? Juice. Juicing is awesome. You can do
Mhm.
carrots, you can do beets, you can even put a little good taste in there. But the
Mhm.
problem is that a lot of people just think, oh, I just got a headache, I had a bad day, or I'm just stressing. Yeah, stress can be a
Mhm.
part of it, but if your stomach isn't right, your brain isn't right.
Mhm.
Because the second gut is the second brain is the gut. At least that's what I've
Yeah.
been told.
Yeah, and then some. I mean, all the literature now is about gut health, and the gut environment directly impacts the way the brain works. It's crazy, crazy how profound the connection is. Mhm.
Oh, 100%. And Doctor, I just want to say thank you so much for being here. It's always a blessing to have you on. I love your wisdom and love what
Mhm.
God's doing in your life and your practice. And I speak life and blessings over your practice, and more people connect with you as a magnet to get their brain right back on track. You can find
Mhm.
Dr. Vrzal at drvrzal.com, drvrzal.com. Check out his book. The book will change your life,
Mhm.
and give him a call. Hey, a Zoom call is perfect. You can
Mhm.
be at home, have some glacier water and with some minerals in it, and have a good talk with this doctor. And remember, guys, pain is your friend. Why is pain your friend? Because you have pain, but pain's reversible.
It is.
Anyways, yeah, thank you so much, Doc, and I look forward to having you on again. Appreciate you.
Mark, thanks for the opportunity.
All righty, that was fun.
It
That was fun.
was.
I love it when it just kind of flows, and just kind of leave it alone and not try to do an abrupt stop. But let me
Yep.
pause this real quick.